Hey guys, Jonathan here at Shadow Foam, and this week we're answering the question, what is the most difficult item to cut into Shadow Foam? Or what is the most difficult tool to organise with Shadow Foam? It's a big question, and it's not a question I could answer myself. I needed some help. So I got Matt, our cameraman, to organise 5 items, ranging in difficulty, getting harder and harder and harder. I'm gonna try and cut them all into foam. So without further ado, what's the first item, Matt? Right, so what is this first one? Pipe Easy tool. Now, I know what this is. This is a beast, to be fair, because I know Tiernan McCorknell, who invented this. So I'm a big Dragon's Den fan. Tiernan took this on Dragon's Den and got investment from Sarah Davies, I think it was. I've actually seen one of these before, but I've never had one, never owned one. So, big up to Tiernan. Go and check out Pipe Easy tool, and let's have a look at it. And I'm guessing we've got 2 because there's another box here the same size. So let's have a look. Now, what is a Pipe Easy tool? Well, if you've ever done like flooring, laminate flooring or tiling, and you've tried to go around a pipe, maybe your radiator and the pipes come out the floor, or in a kitchen you've got like your waste or something. Well, this Pipe Easy tool is designed to help you make sure those kind of circles you need to cut out in the laminate or the tiling are perfect, in the absolute perfect spot, so you get a really nice flush finish. So it's a really novel little tool and lots of little bits and bobs to it. So I do think this is a pretty good challenge to cut into Shadow Foam. Let's get it set up and then we'll cut it into some green foam, I reckon.
Do you want to think about it, Tiernan?
No, I won't waste your time. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I'll take your offer.
Okay.
Right, so Pipe Easy tool is all together and it does look quite complicated, I'll grant you. So I can see why Matt picked it as like difficulty level number 1, but I think this should be quite simple, to be fair, because we can just kind of line it all up, set it all up into a nice shape, and then cut that as a single item, single tool, not very deep, into foam. I've already got some 30mm green foam, which I think is definitely the call of the day when it comes to this lime green Pipe Easy tool. But I don't think we're gonna just cut this into foam with no case, because I've got about 10 of these Amazon basic cases, and I think this should fit nicely in here. So that is the challenge. Let's cut some foam to fit in this case. Right, so I've cut an insert out of a piece of scrap, and it's dead easy to do that. You just use a long straight edge and then a normal snap-off knife. These come in our pro cutting kits. Cut a piece down to size, so that's width and length were the correct size, and then I've used this radius gauge. This comes in our stencil pack. Basically, you just match up the right radius. Once you've found the right one, you can just match it up with a corner cut around it, and then you end up with an insert that just slots straight in there, and that is already feeling like a more sturdy case, which is great. And I do think the Pipe Easy tool is going to fit in there. Obviously I can't cut it in this crazy shape, so I'm going to loosen off all of these little knobs and then try and basically get it in some sort of order. That looks a little bit more promising. I think that should fit on there a little bit better, and we've still got the little kind of adapters to fit in the foam as well. So let's do a layout. Right, so there we go, got a bit of a layout going. I think I'll cut the main tool in first and then I'll figure out the attachments later so I can get the spacing perfect. But with that said, I've got a layout going, so I'll take a photo and then I won't forget the order I've marked up. Not strictly necessary when it's such a simple layout, but I'll do it anyway. And let's cut this main section into the foam. So I'm happy with where it's going to go. Literally just take the scalpel and then just cut around it. We're just cutting lightly, just using it like a pencil and just following the line. And I will follow all of the curves around and we'll get a really nice profile then. And we don't have to cut very deep at this point. We just have to make sure we're holding the scalpel perfectly square to the foam, or perpendicular to the foam. You don't want it going off on an angle. Right, so I've gone all the way around, so now I can move it out of the way, and I'm just going back now and following that cut I've made and making it deeper. So this item here is, we're talking about 12-14mm deep. So we want to cut it down so it's flush with the surface. So I'll make sure I've cut down about 15-20mm into this 30mm insert. As long as I don't cut all the way through, it doesn't really matter if I kind of overshoot where I want to be. So let's just cut this deep enough all the way around, making sure it joins up on the corners. That's kind of a really important part. That way it doesn't tear when we start peeling. So there we go, I've cut all the way around. And if you've done it right, you shouldn't really be able to detect where you've cut, like we've got here. It still looks really good. So now it's time to peel, and for that, you literally just push your finger down one end, and then we're just peeling back the foam towards me. And then once you've got a little bit more material, you can kind of get a few more fingers down there and just pull the material back bit by bit. Right, so there we go. That is the last bit there peeled out, and I have cut like a slightly deeper section there because we have got like a split level here on this tool. So pop that back in there and it should fit now nice and flush to the surface. That is perfect. So now I just have to cut in all of the attachments. So let me figure out exactly where they went again. And it is exactly the same principle. Just cut around it, take the item away and then peel back the foam. So let me do all those. So there we go. That is the first item, the Pipe Easy tool cut into foam, and that's definitely an upgrade from the little kind of case that it came in. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I think the case can go there. That is made for it. So we've still got the pencil case with it. It's all organised in that little kit, and that is the first item. So what's the next one, Matt? So number 2, slightly bigger box. Matty has covered it up because I'm guessing it's a little bit more obvious from the packaging. What is it? It is a... That's not a tool. That's not a hand tool, Matt. A Steady Cam. Smartphone stabilizer. That is a pretty unusual shaped thing. I can see why you've picked it as a difficult item to cut in foam. It comes in a nice kit. So what is this? This is the Hohem iSteady M6 kit. Give me a second, let me have a look at what this does.
2 hours later.
Right, so I've had a look at this, and this is a clever little gadget. I really like it. I mean, gimbals aren't a new thing, I don't think. We've never had one, we don't use gimbals, but we do film a lot of shorts, and you've always got an iPhone or a phone with you, haven't you? Everyone nowadays has got a phone in the pocket, and it's got some really nifty features, this. So, let's cut it into some foam.
Foam again!
Right, so I've got some foam, and I've got a case, because I've got so many cases around this place. I've got this is by Smattery. If it's available on Amazon, we will add a link below. And it's the same principle as that Amazon case that we had a minute ago, but it's just a little bit bigger because this one's too small to hold that. And obviously our plan is, because this comes in a really lovely case, it's got like a felt interior, well not, it's like a soft cloth interior, and it's molded to hold that perfectly, along with the little stand and then the leads. But the beauty of shadow foam is you can customize something to your requirements. And I think we can add some really cool accessories with this to make it even more useful to us. So this case here is the same height pretty much, but a bit wider, so we'll have a bit more room in there. So all we've got to do is use the same technique we used in the last. I'm going to take this off cut of foam, cut it down to size, cut some radiuses on the corners and make an insert for this case. Now obviously we've got space for our Steady Cam and then the accessories that go with it, which is the most important thing. But then the leads, we might put those in a tin. Now I get boxes of these tins from Amazon, 20 of these tins, and they're so useful for when you're doing little builds like this and you've got cables. Cutting cables in foam can be quite frustrating. So having a little tin that they can go in and then you can label it, put a little sticker on the front and put that in is really great. But we're also going to add a couple of other items in here. So the first one is this Rode shotgun mic. This is a lav mic, so it's got like a 3-meter lead on it and it just plugs into the iPhone port. And then finally, the main thing I think you need with an iPhone is a charger. And having a charge lead and a plug. This is the MU plug. Now they don't sell these anymore, but you can still pick them up on eBay. It was at the time the world's thinnest charger. I've got to try and figure out some sort of layout now and fitting all of this in there. So yeah, let me figure out a layout and then we can start cutting foam. So there we go, I've got a layout I'm happy with. So when it comes to cutting foam, I've already talked you through the process. What do you cut the foam with? Well, you cut it with a scalpel and always wear an anti-cut glove. And these things come in our basic cutting kits. And these come free with a lot of orders on the website, depending on how much you spend. You can get a basic cutting kit or a pro cutting kit, and that's got everything we need to cut the foam. It's everything I'm gonna need to cut the foam. So let's get cracking. So there we go, all cut in, and we've got everything, including the dead cat as well, which is fitted into the case. Nice little upgrade, and I wouldn't say that was very difficult to cut into foam. It was a weird shape. I've had to literally cut all the way around all the little details. I've also done different depth segments in here, you can kind of see, because we've got a few little areas that are deeper, and it's no different than cutting in tools, literally. Where there's a deeper section, I've just gone back and peeled out a few extra layers. So that wasn't difficult, Matty. What is your next challenge? So here we are, third on the list. The boxes are getting bigger. Does that mean more difficult? Well, nothing has challenged me yet. Let's have a look what this is. Paint sprayer. What on earth? Paint sprayer. That is, I've never cut a paint spray in foam. This one looks like a right chunky thing. Oh no, hoses. Hoses are a right pain. I think you've definitely stepping up the level of difficulty here. So what is this? Who makes this? Let's have a look. Made by Tilswall, HVLP, so something to do with high pressure. So I've worked with these before. They're like an airless paint system. So let me familiarise myself with this, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with it.
6 hours later.
So I've been through my dumping ground of cases to find what I had. Lots of different Milwaukee power tool bundles will come with a fuel case. So obviously Milwaukee are kind of renowned for their pack out system, but these fuel cases are still on sale and people are still using these, and they do connect together as well. And we do sell shadow foam inserts for them that literally just slot straight in. So you can pick these up. These are 50mm red, and these come straight from shadowfoam.com. Links in the description, and they slot straight in, and there's a lot of real estate in there, which should be enough for us to cut this in. Although it is definitely a challenge, this is genuinely a difficult item to cut into foam. So my first thoughts, we've only obviously got a couple of items, and sadly, although I really like this case, it doesn't quite fit like that. But actually, that I wouldn't say is the most efficient way to pack this into this box anyway, because it's going to be difficult to get out. What I was thinking is if I put it this way, you can grab it by the handle and pull it out, which is easier. This is too tall to stand in the box, so that'll have to lie down, and then we'll have to kind of cross that bridge when we get to it when it comes to the pipe. I'm thinking it can possibly go below, but that is pretty much the layout. So it's straight into foam cutting on this one, and I have got 3 of these inserts, so we can go for like a 3D stack, get a fair bit of height in it, and obviously I've already popped one in there, and we can hopefully make this look pretty smart. So I'll get my glove on, get my scalpel ready, and let's get cutting. And there we go, that is the paint sprayer all cut into foam, and this definitely was the most difficult so far. This was really, really tricky. Both items are cut through all 3 layers. Here we've got the compressor with the cable wrapped around it, and the hose is in the bottom layer, all wrapped around nice. So when you're cutting in hoses, you essentially want to make it into a standard shape as best you can, and then you can cut that in. So all of that is now in the case, and that is the 3rd item. So what the heck's the 4th? So on to the 4th item, and it's a bigger box yet again. So goodness knows what this is. Obviously, the bigger the item, the harder it is to cut in foam, and especially it's such a stout box, this. Goodness knows what it is. Let's have a look. Evolution. Oh, I know Evolution. Is it a miter saw? No, what is it? It's a flipping plastering mixer. Blow me neck. That is a real challenge, that is about as a 3D of a power tool as you could get. Let's open it up, have a look at it, and we'll see what we can do with it. So there we go, the 4th level of difficulty is a plastering mixer. You can see why we don't usually accept things onto the channel, because although Evolution, I know of Evolution, I actually had an Evolution miter saw and a table saw from them. They were both orange as well, which I think is the slightly like higher level stuff, because they've got like lime green stuff, and then the orange is like more pro. Didn't know they did cordless stuff either, to be fair. I'm an electrician, and we work in workshops, and I don't do plastering, so wouldn't have ever had a need for one of these, but now we've got one. And I've got to work out how to, maybe I could mix batter with that, or like bread dough. I do like making bread.
I made that bread for you.
But that is a beast, and I'm gonna have to put it in foam because that is the object of this challenge. Not much of a layout required. They've sent us a charger and a battery, and one thing I did notice, as soon as I got this out of the box, this reminded me very much of the Skill battery. It's got the same feel to it, and it's got the battery indicator on the front, which not many of them have. And I did try it, and it works. Exact same mechanism. So that's quite handy actually, because it means that we can use it with all of our existing batteries. Let me go and dig through my assortment of toolboxes, see if I can find something that this will fit in. Then we'll get some foam for it.
Later that same evening.
Right, so I found a box, not your typical toolbox. I have searched high and low. I went through my full store of toolboxes and couldn't find anything that would be suitable for these two together. I even went to B&Q and had a look around some of the local hardware stores, trying to find something that was long enough to fit both of these, but also had the width and the depth, and there was just nothing ideal, to be fair. And then it hit me, I already had a couple of these, and I just thought, well, if you're setting up a van, something like this might just want to live in a box and not be used very often. And to be honest, the idea of shadow foam is you can turn anything into a toolbox. So why not one of these classic totes? Because it just about fits in here. It's got the right amount of width, it's got just about the right amount of height, and that means I don't have to go out and buy another box when we're just trying to challenge ourselves. Can we cut this in foam? So that's the box. All I've got to do now is cut some foam and make a foam insert to go in there. So I've already got a couple of offcuts. I've got 270mm, and that should be enough depth. Let me cut these down to size, and then we can do some sort of layout and start cutting. So we've made a pair of inserts to go in this tote. The base layer, I've had to cut some recesses for the four wheels, and that sits nice and flush in the bottom. And obviously it kind of evens out what is an uneven surface basically. And then the top layer sits on top of that, and that way we've got 140mm worth of foam. It's a nice snug fit. It's not perfectly tight. We've not got the full template or profile of the box because it's slightly rounded with inserts. It's quite complicated really. So if you wanted to do a proper insert for that, we'd have to do the old paper templating technique. So go and check out this video if you want to see how to make perfect insert. But all I've done for this one is measure the width and the height, basically make a square that's going to fit in there. And then I've trimmed the corners on the base one, cut the wheels in, and then that isn't still a nice snug fit. Now we've got our inserts, we can work out the layout, and the first piece, or the biggest piece of the puzzle, is this essentially. So we're going to cut this in first, then we'll be able to put the charger in probably about there, put the battery in probably about there, and then this is the tricky bit because this has to live on an angle. So we're going to be able to slot that in something like this, and that will be able to put the lid on. It's all safe and protected, and then that will be challenge complete. The most difficult challenge out of everything this is, especially finding the box for it to fit in. So with all that said, let's get cutting. So there we have it. That is probably the worst shadow foam cutting I've ever done. That is definitely the most difficult item. The box was huge. The item wasn't nearly as big as the box. I thought there was a glimmer of hope. When I opened the box and saw that the item seemed pretty reasonable, we were gonna smash it. But actually, it's just incredibly awkward. Even this thing, I mean, let's be honest, that is going to be covered in plaster after the first use. So I gave up. You might see this travesty in the corner here. I gave up trying to cut this in neatly and I ended up just chopping out the corner. But it proves anything, even as awkward as this, it can go in foam. Let me know, what would you have done in the comments? I mean, is there a toolbox out there that lends itself to one of these big, hefty plastering mixers? Because it is a beast and it's such an awkward shape. How do you guys store these things? Because obviously you don't store it in that big cardboard box. Let me know in the comments below, what would you have done to try and get this thing organised? And that is the fourth most difficult item. Let's see the fifth. Matt's kept it. This is a surprise from me. I didn't know what this this was even here until today, and he's just whipped it out from under his desk. A bit inappropriate, and he had this parcel as well. No. So Matty pulled this out from under his desk. He said someone sent it to us, and, you know, he wanted to do this as a surprise unboxing. So this is literally the first I've even laid eyes on this box, and I've had 2 minutes notice, and I've looked around and I can't tell anything from the stickers. Literally, I have no idea what this is. But it's a big box, and I tell you what, hefty's the word. There's a bit of a heft to this box. Let's have a gander. What is in it? Polystyrene, big old chunk of that. Well, I know what that is. As if, now, Matt, you cheeky fella, you had me believing this was a toolbox, and actually, this, there is no denying this shape. This is a hang pan. A hang pan. I mentioned this, and I believe this has been sent by Vevor. So Vevor reached out to us and said, we can send you something for a video. I made a remark that it's so random, they sell everything, and they have hang drums. Yeah, bloody hell, look at that. I saw a chap playing one of these in York, and I was just mesmerised by it. It's absolutely fascinating. It just kind of it's the engineer in me comes out, because basically what this is, it's a piece of steel. A lot of these are handmade. I don't know if this is handmade, but essentially, they kind of like tune the metal, and they have these notes. Now, I don't think it'll work unless it's sat on your knee, because it has to just touch cloth. There's a phrase. Let's see. Wow, that is flipping cool. There's a channel called Hang Massive, and we'll link it below, the first video I watched. I loved it. So I don't know how the heck we're supposed to put this in foam, but I'm a bit confused why you've included it in this challenge, Matty, as the 5th most difficult, because I can see why you might think it's difficult, but there's no way I'm cutting this in foam when it comes with this perfectly made Ninja Turtles shell case. I mean, why would you want anything else? It's coming with a backpack made for it. What a cop-out. I think number 5 was obviously the easiest, but the plastering mixer really took it out of me, as did the flipping spray gun. Both of those are really complicated, awkward shapes that ended up in awkward toolboxes or cases or totes, as the plastering mixer did. And even the Pipe Easy tool and the gimbal that we cut in, they're all quite challenging, and it shows you when it comes to cutting shadow foam, even if it's a really difficult 3D shape, there's still a way to kind of get that done by hand. There was no machines done here. It's all just done with a scalpel, the same knives that come in the basic cutting kit and the pro cutting kit. That's all I've used to do this. Thanks very much for watching the video, and we'll see you in the next one.